Evil is often portrayed as something dramatic and frightening in movies, but in real life, it's usually more subtle and common. It's not always about terrifying acts. Rather, evil can be present in small, everyday decisions and behaviors that might not be immediately noticeable. It's important to recognize that evil doesn't always present itself in an obvious manner. Sometimes, it's just a quiet feeling or an inner warning that something isn't right. Recognizing evil in those around us can be challenging. It's easy to label big, harmful actions as evil, but smaller negative behaviors can be just as damaging. Some people might engage in actions that appear normal on the surface, like being overly dramatic or frequently partying, but these actions can have harmful consequences. The key is not to pass judgment on these individuals, but to understand that people respond differently to their wrongdoings. Some people try to change for the better, while others might take pride in their negative actions and influence others negatively. In this context, the Bible provides practical advice about this. Specifically, the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 11 warns, "But now I am writing to you that you must not associate with anyone who claims to be a brother or sister, but is sexually immoral or greedy, an idolater or slanderer, a drunkard or swindler. Do not even eat with such people." This verse isn't suggesting that we consider ourselves superior to others. Rather, it emphasizes the importance of safeguarding ourselves from negative influences. Being mindful and discerning about our associations isn't just about evading harmful people. It's about nurturing a positive and healthy environment that promotes personal growth and encourages making righteous choices. Understanding the biblical guidance in 1 Corinthians 5 verse 11 helps us to navigate our relationships wisely. It's not just about staying away from bad influences. It's about building a life surrounded by positivity and growth. We all seek love and acceptance, and it's tempting to think that associating with certain people will fulfill our need to belong. But consider this a gentle warning, beloved, that could be a trap. Those who prioritize their own desires over the well-being of others are not the company you want to keep. They may not truly care about you. Their focus is on their own selfish needs. Don't be misled by their words. Stay strong and true to yourself and your beliefs. It's crucial to avoid such individuals, as if avoiding a serious danger. Remember, your happiness and your path to a better life are in your hands. Choose associations that uplift and support you, not those that could lead you astray. Next, let's talk about the individuals in our lives who make us feel like we're walking on eggshells. They constantly blame us for everything that goes wrong, even if it's not our fault. If you can relate to this, listen up, because these types of people are trying to harm you, and you need to avoid them at all costs. You might not realize it, but these people are extremely manipulative. They use tactics like fear, anxiety, guilt, and shame to control you. They don't care about what's best for you. They're just looking out for themselves. And if they're treating you like this now, it's only going to get worse in the future. If you find yourself shouldering responsibility for things that you know aren't your fault, it's a major red flag. You're not in a healthy relationship, and it's time to take a step back and evaluate what's going on. Don't let this person make you feel like you're always in the wrong, because honestly, that is almost a gateway to sin. And here's the thing, you should never have to change who you are for someone else. If you can't relax and be yourself around this person, that's a major problem. You deserve to be with someone who accepts you for who you are, flaws and all. You shouldn't have to tiptoe around them or walk on eggshells just to avoid conflict. So, if you're in a relationship with someone who's making you feel like you're always to blame, it's time to cut ties. It might be tough, but in the long run, it's the best thing for you. Don't let someone else's toxic behavior bring you down. You deserve to be with someone who treats you with respect, love, and kindness. Remember, you are a child of God, and you deserve to be with someone who recognizes your worth. Then we have the type, the ones who bring you down instead of lifting you up, the ones who are always negative and always seem to have an agenda. The ones with this spirit are trying to harm you, and it's important to avoid them at all costs. Now you might be wondering, who are these toxic people? Well, according to Proverbs chapter 24, verses 1 and 2, they are the evil ones. Yes, I said evil, but don't worry, we're not here to start a witch hunt. Evil in this context refers to sin, and if we're honest, we all know what that looks like. It's the person who is always talking about other people, always trying to bring them down to feel better about themselves. It's the person who is always boasting about their material possessions and judging others who don't have as much. It's the person who is always negative, always bringing up drama and always trying to start trouble. It's that person who always finds joy in someone else's failures, never offering support or empathy, but rather using those moments to elevate their own sense of superiority. It's the person who deceives friends and family for their own gain, telling lies that benefit themselves at the expense of others' trust and well-being. It's the person who refuses to forgive, holding onto grudges and resentment, and spreading bitterness rather than seeking reconciliation and peace. It's the person who manipulates others, twisting situations and words to create confusion and conflict, all to maintain control and feed their own ego. Now I know what you're thinking. It's not always easy to spot these people, especially when they're wearing a mask of friendship. That's why it's important to be attentive, to listen to your intuition, and to be careful around such people. As a child of God, we know that bad company ruins good morals. That's why it's important to take every measure to not expose yourself to people who can potentially disturb your walk with God. But let's be real. Avoiding toxic people is easier said than done. Sometimes we find ourselves wanting to fit in or craving the company of certain people even if they're not good for us. It's tempting to want to be a part of that. But as the Bible says, we should not desire to be with them. So, my dear friends, let's make a pact to avoid toxic people, and instead surround ourselves with those who bring out the best in us. Let's surround ourselves with people who encourage us to be better, who uplift us, and who make us feel good about ourselves. Because at the end of the day, life is too short to spend it with people who don't value us or respect us. Next, let's discuss those who are self-righteously religious. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Aren't we supposed to love our neighbors as ourselves? Yes, that's correct. However, it's also true that some neighbors are best loved from afar. Let me explain. These self-righteously religious types are so focused on the rules and regulations of their faith that they overlook the most important aspect, having a genuine relationship with the Lord. They replace their faith with their works, and that's where the problem lies. These types can be a danger to our faith because they are so preoccupied with the systems and how things ought to be done that they forget about the main thing. You see, a religious spirit hardens the hearts of people against God, and that's not something we want to mess with. It can lead to judgmental attitudes, where they measure everyone's worth by a checklist of do's and don'ts, rather than by the depth of their compassion and humility. This mindset can breed a toxic environment, one where love and grace are overshadowed by criticism and moral superiority. It's essential to remain vigilant and ensure that our actions and faith align with the core teachings of love and grace, not just with the external display of piety. The Bible even warns us about these types of people. In 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 4-5, where it says that in the last days men will be treacherous, reckless, or swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having the appearance of godliness but denying its power. But before you go shunning them away and condemning them, remember that we are called to love our neighbor. We can still love them from a distance by praying for them, interceding on their behalf, and going before the Lord so that they may be set free from their religious spirit. True Christianity does not rush to judgment or condemnation because it recognizes the mercy that has been extended to us first. It's from this place of received grace that we should also extend grace to others. We can be firm in our own faith and still hope for their hearts to soften, for their eyes to be opened to the balance of faith and deeds, and for them to experience a reawakening to the heart of their belief, which is the love of God. In doing so, we embody the very essence of the mercy and love that we are so graciously given.